Picture this, it is January of the year 897. A dead man is dragged out of his tomb after being buried for 9 months. They dress him up in his old papal robes, prop him up on a throne, and then they put him on trial for crimes against the church. I am not making this up. This actually happened, and it is one of the strangest chapters in the history of the Catholic Church. A story so absurd that historians still argue about how it was even allowed to occur. This is the story of the Cadaver Synod. Our main character is a man named Formosus. He became pope in the year 891, during one of the messiest periods in medieval Italian politics. Rome at this time was basically a snake pit. Powerful noble families were constantly fighting over who got to control the papacy, and popes were dropping like flies, sometimes from natural causes and sometimes, well, not so natural. Formosus made a lot of enemies during his reign. He crowned a king named Lambert of Spoleto, then later turned around and crowned a rival, a guy named Arnulf of Carinthia, as Holy Roman Emperor instead. That is the kind of political flip-flop that gets you killed in medieval Italy. Formosus died in 896, presumably thinking his troubles were over. They were not over, not even close. A new pope took power named Stephen VI, and Stephen had a problem. He was closely tied to the family that Formosus had betrayed, the Spoleto family. So Stephen decided the best way to settle old political scores was to put his dead predecessor on trial. Yes, on trial. The guy had been dead for months, so Stephen ordered Formosus dug up. The corpse, now decomposing and skeletal after nearly a year underground, was hauled out of its tomb, dressed in full papal vestments, and seated on a throne in front of a church court. They even propped a deacon next to the corpse to speak on its behalf because, corpses do not talk. Stephen presided over this whole thing personally, and by most accounts he was screaming at the body. He accused Formosus of perjury, of illegally seeking the papacy, and of violating church law by serving as a bishop in one diocese and then becoming pope in Rome, which was technically against the rules at the time. The rotting corpse, unsurprisingly, did not offer a great defense. The deacon standing in for it apparently gave weak, mumbled answers. Big shock there. And the outcome of the trial was never really in doubt. Formosus was found guilty. Here is where it gets even more unhinged. The court stripped the corpse of its papal robes. They cut off the 3 fingers on his right hand that he would have used to give blessings. They declared every single decision Formosus made as pope to be null and void, which was a legal nightmare because that meant every priest and bishop he had ordained was suddenly not actually ordained anymore. Then they threw the body into the Tiber River. A dead man, convicted of crimes, mutilated, and dumped in a river in the year 897. This actually happened in recorded history. Now here is the twist. Rome did not react well to this. A lot of citizens were horrified. Some accounts say a monk actually pulled the corpse out of the river and reburied it. And public opinion turned hard against Stephen VI. Within just a few months, a riot broke out in Rome. Stephen was overthrown, thrown in prison, and strangled to death. So the guy who put a corpse on trial ended up murdered himself before the year was even out. But the chaos did not stop there. Later popes actually reversed the verdict, then reversed the reversal, then reversed it again, depending on which political faction was in charge that particular decade. At one point, there was even a second, smaller Cadaver Synod that reaffirmed the original guilty verdict. The whole church spent years arguing about the legal status of a corpse. So there you have it. A pope dug up, dressed, tried, mutilated, and tossed in a river by another pope, who then got strangled to death by an angry mob a few months later. And the church spent the next several years flip-flopping on whether any of it was even legal in the first place. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the bizarre corners of history, make sure to like and subscribe for more.